My parents blew $, $15K, on my brother's luxury cruise, but ignored my biggest win, so I walked away, took control, and let karma tear them apart. I, 29, male, work in construction project management, make good money, and have been the invisible child my entire life. My older brother Jake, 32, male, works in marketing and has been the golden child since birth. Our parents are middle class. Dad manages a regional bank branch. Mom works part-time at a dental office. This story happened about 6 months ago and completely changed our family dynamic forever. Let me paint you a picture of my family dynamics growing up. Jake was always the star. Better grades captain of the football team, homecoming king class president, the whole perfect son package. I was the quiet kid who spent weekends working construction sites with my uncle instead of going to parties or playing sports. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't bitter about Jake's social success. I genuinely enjoyed working with my hands and learning how buildings got put together. There's something incredibly satisfying about seeing a project go from blueprints to actual structure, knowing your work contributed to something permanent that will last decades. While Jake was studying business and marketing in college, partying at fraternity houses and networking at campus events, I was getting my construction management degree and working summers for local contractors. My uncle taught me everything about the industry. How to read complex blueprints, coordinate with subcontractors, manage tight timelines, deal with city inspectors, and most importantly, how to solve problems when things inevitably went wrong on job sites. Construction projects always have complications, and the person who can think on their feet and keep everything moving forward is worth their weight in gold. After graduation, I worked my way up from project coordinator, making $42,000, to senior project manager at a major construction firm, now pulling in $185,000 annually, plus consulting income from side projects. I oversee multi-million-dollar commercial builds, hospitals, office complexes, luxury hotels. It's challenging work that requires technical expertise, leadership skills, and the ability to manage teams of 50-plus workers while keeping projects on schedule and under budget. One of my proudest achievements was managing the construction of a new children's hospital wings that had to be completed while the existing hospital remained fully operational. The complexity was incredible. We had to coordinate around surgery schedules, ensure zero disruption to patient care, manage noise levels during critical procedures, and work with specialized medical equipment installers. The project required custom scheduling where different trades worked in specific areas during designated hours when those hospital sections had the least patient activity. We finished that project 3 weeks ahead of schedule and 12% under budget. The hospital administrator personally wrote a letter of recommendation that helped me land several more healthcare projects. When they held the ribbon-cutting ceremony, local news covered it and specifically mentioned my role in coordinating the complex logistics. That project alone increased my industry reputation significantly and led to consulting offers from firms across 3 states. Another challenging build was renovating a historic courthouse while maintaining full court operations. We had to preserve original architectural elements while completely upgrading electrical, plumbing, and heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. Every day brought new discoveries, hidden passages, century-old infrastructure, and preservation requirements that required creative engineering solutions. The project taught me how to balance modern functionality with historical preservation skills that made me invaluable for similar specialized projects. Jake, meanwhile, works in marketing at a tech startup, making about $65,000. His job involves creating social media campaigns and organizing promotional events. Not exactly rocket science, but you'd think he was running Google based on how our parents talk about his creative marketing strategies and innovative digital presence. But here's the thing that really gets me. Guess who gets treated like the family success story? Despite making nearly 3 times his salary and managing projects worth more than most people's homes, I'm still the afterthought at family gatherings. Jake has been dating Sarah for 2 years now. Picture the most materialistic, entitled woman you've ever encountered, then multiply that by 10. She works part-time at some boutique clothing store making $30,000 a year, but somehow always has money for designer handbags, weekly nail appointments, expensive dinners, and spa treatments. The math never adds up unless you factor in Jake funding her entire lifestyle. Sarah has this way of making every conversation about herself and her latest purchases. Family dinners became performances where she'd show off her new designer shoes, talk about her latest spa day, or complain about how exhausting her 25-hour work week was. She'd sit there scrolling through Instagram while people were talking, then suddenly perk up whenever money or expensive items got mentioned. I remember one dinner where my dad was discussing a difficult loan situation at the bank, and Sarah interrupted to show everyone her new purse and explained why she absolutely had to have it because it was an investment piece that would hold its value. My dad just stopped mid-sentence and smiled politely while she dominated the conversation for 20 minutes about luxury handbag market trends. My parents absolutely worship Sarah. She has such sophisticated taste, Mom would gush. She really knows how to present herself professionally. Translation: she was attractive and expensive, and they loved having a future daughter-in-law who made them feel fancy and cosmopolitan. Meanwhile, I've been with Emma for 3 years. Emma is a nurse practitioner who works in the cardiac intensive care unit, literally saving lives every day. She's everything Sarah isn't. Hardworking, genuinely kind to everyone she meets, down to earth and intelligent. Emma drives a practical Honda that she bought used and maintains herself. She saves her money for meaningful experiences rather than material possessions and treats everyone with respect regardless of their job or social status. When we go out to dinner, Emma studies the menu thoughtfully and orders reasonably, not because she can't afford expensive items, but because she was raised to be mindful about spending. She always insists on paying her share or taking turns picking up the check. She thanks servers, genuinely tips appropriately, and asks thoughtful questions about the food preparation. Emma is also incredibly driven professionally. She's working toward additional certifications while maintaining her full-time position in one of the most stressful hospital departments. She comes home exhausted from dealing with life and death situations all day, but still finds energy to support my career goals and help me decompress after challenging project days. But my parents barely acknowledge Emma's existence. She could be sitting right there at family dinner contributing thoughtfully to conversations about current events or sharing interesting stories from her work at the hospital, and they'd forget to include her in family photos. They never ask about her life-saving work in the intensive care unit, her family background, her interests, or her professional achievements, but they'd spend 30 minutes discussing Sarah's latest manicure design and how trendy her nail art looked on Instagram. I remember one particularly painful dinner where Emma was telling my dad about a complex cardiac procedure she'd assisted with that had saved a 45-year-old father's life. Dad was nodding politely, but clearly not engaged. Mid-conversation, Sarah walked in wearing a new dress, and immediately everyone's attention shifted to her outfit. "Oh, Sarah, that color is absolutely stunning on you," Mom gushed. "Where did you find such a beautiful piece?" The conversation about Emma's life-saving work was completely abandoned as Sarah launched into a 20-minute story about her shopping experience, the boutique owner who personally styled her, and how the dress was an investment in her professional image. Emma just sat there quietly finishing her dinner while my parents hung on Sarah's every word about fabric quality and designer labels. Another time, Emma mentioned she was considering pursuing additional certification that would allow her to work with pediatric cardiac patients. Before anyone could respond, Sarah announced she was thinking about starting a lifestyle blog and maybe becoming a social media influencer. Guess which topic dominated the rest of the evening? My parents spent an hour discussing Sarah's entrepreneurial spirit and how natural she was at creating engaging content. The pattern was so consistent it became predictable. Emma could discuss medical breakthroughs, share stories about saving lives, or talk about her professional development, and she'd get polite nods. Sarah could mention buying coffee or getting her eyebrows done, and suddenly she had everyone's full attention. The favoritism has always been obvious, but I dealt with it by focusing on my career success and my relationship with Emma. I figured as long as I was doing well professionally and building something meaningful with someone I loved, their approval didn't really matter. I was completely wrong about how much I could actually tolerate. 2 months ago, Jake got what he called a major promotion at his startup. In reality, it was basically a fancy title change from marketing coordinator to senior marketing strategist with about a 5,000% raise. Nothing earth-shattering, but you'd think he'd just been named Chief Executive Officer of Apple based on my parents' reaction. They immediately started planning what they called a celebration trip for Jake and Sarah. We're talking about a week-long luxury cruise through the Caribbean. Staying in a premium suite with a private balcony, all meals at specialty restaurants, spa treatments. Shore excursions, the full, very important person experience. The total cost was probably around $12,000 when you factor in the flights, upgraded accommodations, and all the extras Sarah would inevitably demand. The planning process was elaborate and expensive. Mom spent hours researching the perfect cruise line, reading reviews of different suite categories, and comparing amenities. She upgraded them to a premium beverage package, booked multiple specialty dining experiences, and even arranged for champagne and chocolate-covered strawberries to be waiting in their room. Sarah had specific requests about spa treatments, shore excursions, and photo opportunities that Mom eagerly accommodated. They also bought Jake and Sarah new luggage sets, coordinated vacation outfits, and even paid for professional photos to be taken during one of their port stops. Mom was treating this cruise like a second honeymoon for a couple that wasn't even engaged yet. I watched all this elaborate planning happening while my own major promotion got mentioned once during a family dinner and immediately forgotten. The contrast was so stark, it was almost comical. Jake gets a title change, and suddenly my parents become travel agents. I get promoted to director level, and they ask if I want more potatoes. Here's what really burned me up about this situation. Jake's promotion happened exactly 2 weeks after I'd been promoted to project director, overseeing a $50 million hospital expansion project. I was now the youngest person in my company's history to reach that level. Managing a team of 60 workers and coordinating with architects, engineers, city planners, and hospital administrators on one of the most complex builds in the region. When I told my parents about this massive career milestone over Sunday dinner, I got the usual response. "That's wonderful, sweetie," in the same tone Mom would use if I told her I'd organized my sock drawer. Then the conversation immediately shifted to Sarah's new workout routine and how dedicated she was to maintaining her figure. But Jake's minor promotion, with a small raise boom luxury cruise celebration that costs more than most people make in 3 months. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening. I called my parents to ask if Emma and I could join them for dinner that weekend to celebrate Dad's 58th birthday, which was on Saturday. "Oh, honey, we won't be here this weekend," Mom said casually. "We're leaving Friday morning for the cruise with Jake and Sarah. Dad's birthday celebration will have to wait until we get back next week." I sat there holding my phone, trying to process what she just said. They were skipping Dad's actual birthday to go on a luxury vacation celebrating Jake's promotion. The same promotion they'd spend 5 minutes acknowledging before moving on to more important topics like Sarah's shopping plans. "You're missing Dad's birthday for Jake's cruise?" I asked, thinking maybe I'd misunderstood. "Well, we already booked everything, and Jake's been working so hard lately. Sarah's been planning this trip for weeks, and she's so excited. You understand how important this is for them. We can celebrate Dad's birthday when we get back. It's just a date on the calendar." Just a date on the calendar. Their son's actual birthday was less important than their other son's work celebration. "What about the dinner reservations you made?" I asked, knowing they'd been planning Dad's birthday dinner for over a month. "We had to cancel those, but we'll reschedule something nice when we return. Maybe you and Emma can take Dad out for his birthday instead. You're so good at handling these kinds of things independently." That phrase, handling things independently, was basically their way of saying, I was the reliable son who didn't need attention or support, the one who could be counted on to step up when they had more important priorities. After I hung up, I sat in my living room for about an hour, just staring at the wall. Emma was working a night shift at the hospital, saving actual lives, while my family packed designer luggage for their luxury vacation, celebrating Jake's new job title. That night I made a decision that would change absolutely everything. The next morning I woke up and immediately checked their social media accounts. Sure enough, there they were. Posted photos from the airport at 7 in the morning. Big smiles, expensive matching luggage sets. Champagne in the first-class lounge that probably cost more than Emma makes in a day, saving cardiac patients. The caption on Mom's Facebook post read, "Off to celebrate our successful son Jake and his amazing achievement. So proud of his hard work and dedication. Sarah deserves this special trip after being so supportive. Proud parents, family first. #blessed. I screenshot that post. Then I started making phone calls that would change my life. For months, I'd been getting recruited by a major construction firm in Denver. They'd been aggressively courting me to head their new commercial projects division, offering a $240,000 base salary plus equity stakes in completed projects. The opportunity was incredible. Full autonomy, unlimited budget for hiring, and the chance to build their entire West Coast expansion from the ground up. I'd been hesitant because it meant leaving my current position, moving 1,200 miles away from everything familiar and starting over in a new city. But watching my family board a plane for a luxury vacation while treating my career achievements like background noise made the decision incredibly easy. I called the Denver firm and accepted their offer immediately. The hiring manager was thrilled and said I could start within 2 weeks. Then I submitted my resignation to my current employer via email, citing family circumstances requiring relocation. My boss called within an hour trying to negotiate a counteroffer, but I was done. Next, I called Emma at the hospital during her break. "I'm moving to Denver," I said without preamble. "That consulting job I told you about, I'm taking it." "When?" she asked, probably hearing something different in my voice. "This weekend. I'm driving out there Saturday morning." Emma was quiet for a moment. She'd witnessed how my family treated me for years, so she understood the implications immediately. "What finally pushed you over the edge?" she asked gently. I told her about the crew's dad's birthday, the social media posts, everything. Emma listened without interrupting, occasionally making small sounds of sympathy or disbelief. "I'll put in for a transfer request today," she said immediately when I finished. "Denver has excellent hospitals, and they're always looking for experienced intensive care unit nurses. I can probably secure something within a month." This is exactly why I love this woman. No hesitation, no guilt trips about leaving family behind. Just immediate support for building our future together. I spent Thursday and Friday packing my essential belongings, arranging for a moving company to handle the furniture later, and tying up loose ends. My landlord was surprisingly understanding when I explained the situation and agreed to let me out of my lease early. The packing process was therapeutic in a weird way. Going through my belongings, I found reminders of all the achievements my family had ignored over the years. Framed certificates from construction management courses they'd never asked about, photos from project completion ceremonies they'd never attended, industry awards. They'd never seen letters of recommendation from colleagues who actually valued my work. I also found the congratulations card Emma had given me for my latest promotion. Thoughtful, personal, celebrating specific aspects of my achievement. It was more recognition than I'd received from my entire family combined. That card went in my essential items box. As I packed, I realized how ready I was for this change. I'd been unconsciously preparing for years by building a career that was portable, developing skills that were in demand everywhere, and saving money independently. I wasn't just running away. I was running towards something better. I called my former supervisor to explain my departure, and he immediately offered to serve as a reference and promised to recommend me to colleagues in other markets. Several coworkers reached out when they heard I was leaving, expressing genuine sadness about my departure and admiration for my courage in making such a bold career move. The support from my professional network contrasted sharply with my family's complete lack of interest in my success. These people understood my value even when my own parents didn't. Saturday morning, while my family was probably enjoying room service and planning their first shore excursion, I loaded my truck with everything important and started the 12-hour drive to Denver. I didn't leave a note. I didn't send a goodbye text. I just disappeared. They were somewhere in the Caribbean posting photos of sunset dinners and couples massages while I was driving through Kansas, listening to podcasts and planning my new life. The Denver job exceeded every expectation I'd had. From day one, I was managing a team of 40 specialized workers across multiple major projects, a new airport terminal expansion, a luxury hotel and conference center complex, and a state-of-the-art medical research facility. The salary was exactly what they'd promised. Plus, I was getting equity stakes that would pay out handsomely when projects completed. My new boss gave me complete autonomy to hire additional staff, negotiate with subcontractors, and implement project management systems. Within the first week, I'd streamlined their entire workflow and identified cost savings that would increase project margins by 15%. They were so impressed they fast-tracked my equity vesting schedule. Within 2 weeks, I'd found an incredible condo in downtown Denver with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the mountains. The place was modern, spacious, and exactly the kind of adult living space I'd always wanted. Within a month, Emma had secured a position at Denver General's cardiac unit and moved in with me. We were building something amazing together, both professionally and personally. Emma loved the new hospital and the collaborative environment in Denver's medical community. I was thriving in a role that challenged me while providing the resources and respect I'd never experienced at my previous company. Meanwhile, my family was living their best life on social media. Every single day brought new photos from their extended vacation, expensive dinners at specialty restaurants, professional spa treatments, private beach cabanas, guided tours of exclusive locations. They looked like they were having the time of their lives, spending money they probably couldn't afford. The cruise posts kept coming with captions like, "So blessed to celebrate our amazing son, and hard work deserves beautiful rewards, and Sarah looks like a princess on this trip." They extended the vacation by 3 additional days because, according to Sarah's Instagram stories, she needed more time to fully disconnect and recharge. It took them 4 full days after returning from their trip to notice I wasn't answering my phone. The first missed call from Mom came on a Thursday evening, then 5 more calls Friday. Saturday morning, the voicemail started. "Honey, where are you? We're back from the most incredible trip and we have so many stories to share. Jake and Sarah had such a wonderful time. Call us back when you get this." I deleted the message without listening to the full thing. Sunday. "We've been trying to reach you all weekend. We want to show you hundreds of photos from the cruise. Jake looks so relaxed and happy. Sarah got the most beautiful tan. Please call us back." Monday. "Your office said you don't work there anymore. What's going on? This is very confusing. Call us immediately so we can figure out what happened." Tuesday. "We're really worried now. No one knows where you are. Please, just let us know you're safe. We can work through whatever is bothering you." Finally, I sent a single text message. "I'm fine. Living in Denver now. Don't contact me unless it's a genuine emergency." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Phone calls every hour, text messages, voicemails, emails. Jake started calling too, leaving messages about being confused and concerned. Even Sarah sent messages asking where I was and why I disappeared without warning. I ignored absolutely all of them and focused on building my new life. Over the next 3 months, my career absolutely exploded in ways I'd never imagined possible. The company promoted me to Vice President of Operations with a salary bump to $280,000 plus substantial equity stakes in all major projects. I was now overseeing construction projects worth over $200 million across Colorado and Wyoming. The airport terminal project finished 2 months ahead of schedule and 20% under budget, earning the company a massive bonus from the city and several follow-up contracts. The medical research facility was featured in architectural magazines for its innovative design and efficient construction timeline. My reputation in the Denver construction community was growing rapidly. Emma and I bought a house in an exclusive neighborhood with incredible mountain views and hiking trail access. Nothing too flashy, but a beautiful 4-bedroom place where we could start a family and entertain the new friends we'd made in Denver. We got engaged with a custom ring I designed myself and paid for in cash $8,000 without even thinking twice about the expense. Our life was everything we dreamed of building together. Emma was thriving in her new position and had already been selected for an advanced certification program. We spent weekends hiking, exploring Denver's food scene, and planning our future together. I didn't post any of this success on social media, didn't send announcements to family. Just lived my life quietly and successfully while building something meaningful with someone who truly valued my achievements. Meanwhile, my family was dealing with post-vacation reality back home. Through my cousin Mike, who had my number and respected my decision to maintain distance, I learned that Jake's startup was having serious financial difficulties. Turns out his promotion had come with equity instead of substantial cash increases, and the company was struggling to secure new investment rounds. The cruise vacation had been funded by my parents dipping deep into their retirement savings account. They'd spent nearly $15,000 total on that trip, including the extended days and all the expensive excursions Sarah had insisted on experiencing. Money they'd saved for decades gone in 2 weeks of celebrating Jake's modest title change. Sarah was pressuring Jake to maintain the lifestyle she'd experienced during the cruise. She wanted regular expensive dinners, weekend spa retreats, designer shopping trips, and luxury hotel stays. But Jake's actual financial situation couldn't support any of that on a long-term basis. My parents kept calling and leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. They tried reaching Emma's family, contacted my former employer for forwarding information, and even called my uncle asking if he knew where I was or why I'd left town. "We just want to know you're safe and happy," Mom said in one particularly emotional voicemail. "We don't understand why you left without saying goodbye. Please come home so we can work through whatever upset you." They genuinely couldn't comprehend why their luxury cruise celebration would bother me. After years of treating my achievements like background noise while celebrating Jake's every minor success, they were completely baffled by my disappearance. The disconnect was incredible. They'd literally chosen to skip Dad's birthday for Jake's vacation, then posted about it publicly on social media, and somehow couldn't understand why that might affect their other son. 3.5 months after I disappeared, I was reviewing architectural plans for a new casino resort project when my phone rang. Mom's name on the caller identification. I'd been ignoring their calls for weeks, but something made me answer this time. "Thank God you picked up," she said immediately, and I could hear crying in her voice. "We've been trying to reach you for months." "What's the emergency?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. "Jake and Sarah broke up last week," she said, sniffling. "She left him for some guy she met at a country club. Apparently he's from old money trust fund situation. She just packed her stuff and moved in with him without any explanation." I waited for her to continue, not particularly surprised by this development. "But that's not why I'm calling," Mom continued. "Your father had a heart attack 2 weeks ago." That got my attention. "Is he okay?" "He's stable now, but it was really scary. They had to do emergency surgery and he's going to need ongoing treatment. The thing is," she paused, and I could hear her taking a shaky breath, "the medical bills are enormous. Even with insurance, we're looking at over $40,000 in out-of-pocket expenses. We spent so much money on that cruise celebration that our savings are practically empty. We're already 3 months behind on the mortgage payments because we've been trying to cover Dad's medical expenses. The bank started foreclosure proceedings yesterday." And there it was, the real reason for the call. "We need help," she continued, her voice breaking. "We're going to lose the house. Jake can't contribute anything because he's financially destroyed from trying to keep Sarah happy. And we don't have anyone else we can turn to. We've already talked to the bank about payment plans, but they won't work with us because we missed too many payments." I sat in my Denver office looking out at the mountain views, processing what she'd just told me. They'd blown their retirement savings on a luxury cruise, celebrating Jake while completely ignoring my career achievements. And now they were facing foreclosure because of their financial choices. "How much do you need total?" I asked. "About $60,000 to get current on everything and cover the immediate medical expenses. We've looked into loans, but our credit is damaged from the missed payments and medical debt." "I'll think about it," I said. "I'll call you back in a few days." "Please don't disappear again," she begged. "We can't lose you and the house, too. We realize now that we made mistakes, but we need our family together during this difficult time." I hung up and sat there for a long time staring at the construction plans on my desk. Emma found me in my office an hour later, still processing the conversation. "What's wrong?" she asked, sitting down across from my desk. I told her about the call, Dad's heart attack, the medical bills, the foreclosure threat, and their request for financial help. Emma listened without interrupting her expression, getting more incredulous as the story continued. "Are you going to help them?" she asked when I finished. "Maybe," I said, "but definitely not the way they expect." I waited exactly 1 week before calling my mother back, long enough for them to really sweat about losing their house, but not so long that foreclosure would become irreversible. During that week, I did extensive research into their situation. I looked up public records for their mortgage, researched their bank's foreclosure timeline, and even spoke with a real estate attorney about the legal process. I wanted to understand exactly how desperate their situation was before making any decisions. I also researched Dad's medical condition and treatment costs to verify that their financial crisis was legitimate. Through my connections in the construction industry, I found a contractor who could assess their house's current market value and renovation needs. "I thought about your request," I said, when Mom answered on the first ring, "and I'm willing to help you avoid foreclosure." I could hear her crying with relief. "Oh, thank God, thank you so much. We'll pay you back as soon as we can get back on our feet financially." "I'm not finished," I interrupted. "I'm willing to help, but this isn't a no-strings-attached bailout. I have specific conditions that must be met." The line went quiet except for her sniffling. "First condition. Jake moves back into your house immediately and pays me $1,200 monthly rent market rate for a room in your neighborhood. No family discounts or exceptions." "That seems reasonable," she said hesitantly. "Second condition. You and Dad sell non-essential belongings to pay me back $15,000 of what I'm lending you. I'm thinking Dad's golf club membership and equipment." Mom's jewelry collection, that expensive china set you never use, and any other luxury items you can liquidate. We could probably do that. Third condition, you write Emma a formal handwritten letter of apology for how you've treated her over the past 3 years. A real apology acknowledging specific ways you've excluded her and ignored her contributions to our family. And you pay for her engagement ring as a wedding gift. $8,000. $8,000, Mom gasped. That's a lot of money. It's exactly what you spent extending your cruise vacation by 3 days, I said calmly. Emma deserves better than being ignored and excluded for 3 years while you celebrated Sarah's every manicure appointment. Okay, we can do that. Fourth condition, you make a public Facebook post explaining that you spent your retirement savings on a luxury cruise for Jake while ignoring my career achievements, apologizing for your obvious favoritism, and acknowledging that I've been successful without your support or recognition. The line went completely silent for almost a minute. That's really humiliating, she finally whispered. Not as humiliating as losing your house because you chose vacation photos over financial responsibility, I replied. Not as humiliating as having to explain to your neighbors why there's a foreclosure sign in your yard. These are my terms, all of them or no deal. What if we can't agree to all the conditions? Then you figure out another way to avoid foreclosure. Maybe Sarah's new trust fund boyfriend can help. Maybe Jake can get a second job. Maybe you can downsize to an apartment you can actually afford. But you won't get a penny from me unless you meet every single condition. I let that sink in for a moment. I need your answer by Friday afternoon. All 4 conditions accepted completely or no deal. Thursday evening, Jake called me directly. I could hear the desperation and exhaustion in his voice immediately. Please help them, he said without preamble. I know I screwed up. I know Sarah was using me and I was too blind to see it. But Mom and Dad don't deserve to lose their house because of my stupid decisions. Actually, they do deserve it, I said calmly. They chose to spend retirement money on your cruise instead of keeping emergency savings. They chose to celebrate your minor promotion while ignoring my major career advancement. They chose Sarah's comfort over Emma's inclusion. These are consequences of their choices, but you're still willing to help under my conditions. Yes. Have they agreed to everything? They're struggling with the Facebook post requirement. They think it's too public and embarrassing. Then they're not desperate enough yet, I said. Tell them to call me when losing their house feels more embarrassing than admitting they made poor financial and parenting choices. Friday afternoon, Mom called and agreed to every single condition. I wire transferred $65,000 to their account that same day. Enough to catch up on mortgage payments, cover Dad's immediate medical expenses, and provide a small cushion for ongoing treatments. Jake moved back into his childhood bedroom the following week and started paying me $1,200 monthly rent. I had him sign an actual lease agreement just like any other tenant-landlord relationship. My parents posted the required Facebook apology that weekend. It was clearly painful for them, but they did it. We want to publicly acknowledge that we made serious financial and parenting mistakes. We spent our retirement savings on a luxury cruise celebrating our son Jake while failing to properly recognize our other son's significant career achievements. We missed opportunities to support both our sons equally, and we're working to rebuild our relationship with our family. We're grateful for patience and forgiveness as we try to do better. The post received over 200 comments from family members, friends, neighbors, and co-workers expressing shock that they'd spent retirement money on a vacation and ignored their other son's success. They had to spend the next 2 weeks explaining their poor decisions to everyone they knew. My cousin Mike called me laughing. Your mom looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor every time someone asked her about that Facebook post. I think this might actually teach them something. They sold Dad's golf club membership and all his equipment, Mom's expensive jewelry collection, and several other luxury items they didn't really need. They paid me back $18,000 within 2 months more than the required amount. They also wrote Emma a beautiful 3-page handwritten apology letter acknowledging specific instances where they'd excluded her, dismissed her contributions, or treated her as unimportant. They admitted being so focused on Sarah's drama and demands that they'd completely failed to build a relationship with the woman who'd actually been good for their son. Emma cried when she read it, not from sadness, but from relief that they'd finally acknowledged how poorly they'd treated her. They also paid for her engagement ring as promised, which she wears proudly as a symbol of our new beginning. But here's the most satisfying part. The family dynamics completely shifted overnight. Suddenly, I was the successful son who'd saved them from losing everything. Jake was the failure living in his childhood bedroom paying rent to his younger brother. When we visit now, which isn't often and always on our terms, they ask detailed questions about my business ventures, celebrate my professional successes, and treat Emma like the treasure she truly is. Not because they've suddenly realized they love me more, but because they understand they need me. Jake, to his credit, genuinely learned from this experience. He thanked me sincerely for helping despite their treatment of me, acknowledged how blind he'd been to their obvious favoritism, and started treating Emma with real respect and friendship. We actually have a decent relationship now built on mutual honesty rather than family obligation. Sarah tried reaching out to me once after hearing about my financial success through mutual acquaintances, probably thinking she'd chosen the wrong brother to manipulate. I blocked her number immediately without responding.